any time where you had a major setback, maybe that time when you thought to yourself, how am I going to get through this? It seems like, most business owners go through at least one time, if not multiple, of huge setbacks. Is there any time in your life that you just didn't know how you were going to pull through, and then you did, and how did you do that?
Oh, we all hate this question, don't we? But maybe we love it too. I don't know. My first vision really was one of developing a multidisciplinary psychological practice that would serve a metropolitan area. And that led to the development of Psych Care Associates, as we called it then, this large kind of mental health facility and $1 million facility that we'd built. I think it was about maybe 15,000 or so square feet, a 3-story office building that we had for that. And so it was a rather, large concern, relatively speaking, for that kind of industry. And we'd grown rapidly. We had many referrals that came from both clergy and physicians, as I had mentioned. And we also had a statewide radio broadcast where I think it was a daily broadcast for either a half hour or an hour that went statewide that we did in cooperation with Gary Sweeten out of Cincinnati. And, did a lot of good for people statewide, kind of making more available some of these principles about how to have a better quality of life. And it was at this point in time that one of the therapists in our group was sexually inappropriate with a client. And the strategy that was taken by the plaintiff's attorney was to intentionally notify every referral source in the city, that included about 2,000 clergy, that this presumably value-based organization seems to be exactly the opposite of that. And, please let me, the plaintiff's attorney, know if you know of anybody else who has been sexually abused by this particular person or somebody else in the organization. Well, the end result of that was that the allegations were correct. This particular therapist was sexually inappropriate with this person. No other plaintiffs came to the table, which is, something we're grateful for. But the end result was that at really a rather crucial point in our own growth and development, the referrals for several months just dried up. And you can't really run a large practice, where we had an organizational manager and all that going on and these large commitments to radio programs and so forth. You can't skip a beat very long and really be solvent. And at the same time, managed care was starting to have its kind of negative impact, softening profitability anyway. So I actually went into what I'd call kind of a financial free fall at that point in time. And a couple of the therapists that were supervisors of this other person actually had legal counsel suggesting, why don't you disassociate yourself from this practice, as kind of a safeguard for yourself. So suddenly I was stuck with this large office building and people that I had made contractual commitments to pay, and there was no other income stream coming in to pay. So I really just prayed a lot and worked hard and lost a lot of money. I guess I'd roughly say someplace between $500,000 to $1 million, something like that, just kind of went away overnight. And we sold our house in order to not be bankrupt and find enough assets to, to keep going. And at the time, I really, it was quite challenging. And I remember one year, I went from, three, what do you call it, 6-digit incomes. I went to a 2-digit income. I remember dropping to 22,000 one year, and I thought that was low enough. Well, the next year I was negative 8,000 for the total of the year. And that was in addition to losing the other assets that I've already mentioned. So I did really want to go to a national arena with some of the work that I was doing. I wanted to get out of the local business, but I didn't quite want to do it this way. And so, I was challenged with, how do you look at this anyway, Steve? Has somebody taken something from you? Have you been dealt, a bad blow? And so as I thought about it, the view I eventually came to is this. What I've done now is I have spent about 10 years recruiting the best people I know from all over the country, and I've been able to invest about 10 years in showing them how to have a really great psychological practice and mentoring them. And in the end, it only cost me about $50,000 per person to seed, S-E-A-D, to seed Ohio with multiple psychological practices. So I think that's a pretty good deal, really, don't you think?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So it was really a bargain, and it only cost $1 million. And I'm glad, and you kind of laugh at this, but this is literally the way I looked at it. I think the enemy, so to speak, may have said this is going to be the way that we're going to, devastate Steve Judah and something good, but the way I think God has recast it in my mind is, what a wonderful way to invest